So we are holding Daf Tes Amud Sheni, and today's Daf is Daf Yud in Rosh Hashana, and we're holding on the bottom 3 to 4 lines from the bottom. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Okay, we're talking about Orla over here, as we learned previously, that the Rosh Hashana for Orla is the first day of Tishrei, and we learned yesterday that if you plant a sapling as 30 days prior to 30 days prior to Tishrei, so then the second year begins in Tishrei. Remember, the first 3 years you're not allowed to eat the fruits. So the second year begins as if it's 30 days of 1 year, it goes to the next year, etc. So let's see what
it's the first 3 years, even if there's no fruit in the first two.
Well,
Or
yeah,
it's the first 3 years that there are fruit.
Right. Whatever happens to your tree, if it's like matures early and the first 3 years produces fruit, you can't eat it, you can't benefit, you can't even use it as
What if it
firewood.
doesn't produce fruit till the third year? Is it only 1 year that you don't have fruit you can use?
Right. It's 1 year. It's up until whatever comes out of the tree during the first 3 years. And then in the fourth year, you still can't eat it. You pick if you have a tree in Eretz Yisrael, so in the fourth year, then you bring the fruits up to Yerushalayim and eat it as Ma'aser Sheni. And in the fifth year, then it's your fruits. Okay, hi Louis. We're just starting right now. Daf Ches Amud Sheni, 4 lines from the bottom. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Echad Hanotei, if you plant a sapling. Echad Hamavrich, if you mavrich a sapling, which means you do this. Mavrich means you take a tree and you branch from another tree, plant it into the ground, and out grows another tree. You bring it out, and then eventually a tree will grow over here, and then you cut the connection. And then also we're going to learn hamarkiv. You have a tree stump and you put a healthy tree, stick it into a tree stump, and somehow a new tree grows out. So that's like making a new tree.
But it has to be the same type of tree, because otherwise that's a
it won't
problem.
take. It won't. Right.
No, they do take. That's how they do grafting.
Right.
There are trees where they grow 4 different types of apples on one tree.
Exactly.
So you're not allowed to do that, right?
A Jew is not allowed to
eat it. You can eat it, but you can't plant it.
Like kiwis, exactly.
Right.
So if you did this Erev Shvius, let's say you did this Erev Shvius, which was this year Shemitah, you did it in Elul. Shloishim the Yom Lifnei Rosh Hashanah, 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. So this past Elul, if you did all this, so comes Tishrei, also Loishana. That's year number 1 of your Arla. So only 30 days passed. It's year 1 passed already of your Arla. And Umutu Lekaimim B'Shviyas. And you're allowed to keep that sapling in Shemitah. In other words, if you would plant a tree in Shemitah, you have to uproot it. It's a knas. You can't keep a tree. If you planted on purpose a tree this year in Eretz Yisrael, Chachamim say you have to uproot it. Now, here you did it 30 days before. Now, we know yesterday that you're supposed to have Toisvis Shvius, an extension of Shemitah, and that extends Shemitah a little bit before Shemitah. But since you did it 30 days before the actual Shemitah started, so then this tree is allowed to be kept in Shemitah. But Pachas Mishleishim Yom Lifnei Rosh Hashanah, if it's less than 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, so then if you planted this tree, Loi also Loishana, that's not counted as year number 1. Year number 1 will complete, the following Tishrei. So let's say you planted it 15th day of Elul, the following Tishrei, that's when year number 1 will be completed. The following 15th day of Elul. So that means that following 15th day of Elul, then it will be a complete year. Actually, the first year would be Tishrei. But also L'kaimam B'Shviyas. And you're not allowed to keep it in Shemitah, because since you planted it close to the Shemitah year, that's in the extension of Shviyas, and that's almost as if you planted in Shemitah itself, and therefore you have to uproot it. Says the Gemara on top. We're on top of Daf Yud. Now, let's go with the Cheshbon. Very simple. You planted it 30 days before, let's say you planted 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, right? So year number 1 is Rosh Hashanah. Year number 2 is the next Rosh Hashanah. Year number 3, should be the following Rosh Hashanah. So you would think you could eat those fruits after Rosh Hashanah. The answer is no. In this case, you have to wait till Tu B'Shvat. Uperes nitiyazu asurun at Tu B'Shvat. Till Tu B'Shvat, because now it's not a sapling anymore. It becomes a tree after 3 years. And when does the Rosh Hashanah of trees? The Rosh Hashanah of trees is Tu B'Shvat. At Tu B'Shvat, that's when it reverts into the 4th year of Ravai. And then year 5, Tu B'Shvat, that's when you're permitted to enjoy the fruit in your home. Okay, so let's get it clear. If you planted it 30 days before Rosh Hashanah, so then the first Rosh Hashanah is still Arla, the second but that's start of year 2. The second Rosh Hashanah is start of year 3. And then after that, the third Rosh Hashanah, technically you should be allowed to eat from that fruit. But they tell you that it's also to eat from that fruit until Tu B'Shvat. And then that starts the 4th year, and the following Tu B'Shvat is the 5th year. Imla Arla, you're not supposed to eat it until, if it's Arla, you have to wait till Tu B'Shvat to get out of the Arla problem. Vimla Ravai, if it's the 4th year, you have to wait. It's Ravai, it's the 4th year fruit, which has to be brought up to Jerusalem, and you can't enjoy that fruit in your house until the 5th year. So basically, once you revert out of a sapling, a new Rosh Hashanah takes effect, which is Tu B'Shvat. So as a sapling little tree, the Rosh Hashanah is the 1st of Tishrei. As a tree, when you go from year 3 to 4 to become a mature tree, so to speak, so then your Rosh Hashanah is Tu B'Shvat. So the Gemara says, Manohani Mili, how do I know that a tree, after it reverts to Arla, could still, even if it goes into the 4th year, it still has a din of Arla until Tu B'Shvat? Amar Rab Chia bar Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Umatim ba b'shmei Rabbi Yanim. Some say, bend it, that it seems that Rabbi Yanim made this statement. Amakra, there's a pasuk that says, let's look at the pasuk right over here. I'm going to point it out to you. Here's the pasuk in Chumash, in Vayikra, where it talks about, in Seder Vayikra, where it talks about when you come to the Eretz Yisrael and you plant a tree, a fruit tree, Varaltemis or Loses, Piriyah Shalosh Shanim Yelechem, Arelim Lo Yechal. Don't eat any of the fruit. There the Torah clearly says it's Arla fruit. Uvashana Havrivius. Now notice this Vav over here. And in the 4th year, Yeh Kol Piriyah, all the fruits should be Kodesh Hilulam Lashem. Holy praises to Hashem. What does that mean? The Torah doesn't tell you what that means, but that we know it means you should take that 4th year fruit and bring it up to Jerusalem and eat it there, or you sell it there and make a meal there. And then Ubashana Chamishis Teichlis Piriyai, and the 5th year you could eat the fruit. And if you follow these directions, you'll have more produce. You think if you follow the Torah's direction, you lose out. The answer is no. You'll get more bracha. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I'm God who decides who gets bracha, who doesn't. So you have Ubashana Arvias, Ubashana Chamis. Says the Gemara. Sometimes you're in the 4th year. That means it's after Rosh Hashanah of the 4th year of this tree. And it'll still be considered asur in Arla, because Ubashan Arvias has in it Arla. In the 4th year, you have Arla. When? Up until Tu B'Shvat. And sometimes you're in the 5th year, right, after Rosh Hashanah, and it'll still be asur to eat that fruit at your leisure without bringing it up to Jerusalem up until Tu B'Shvat. So that is what the Gemara is saying over here, what it said in the beginning, that once you turn into a tree, even if once it comes out of being a sapling, it has a new Rosh Hashanah called Tu B'Shvat. Okay, now. Says the Gemara. Lema, our Mishnah, we just said that that the Gemara held, why do you need to plant it 30 days before Shemitah? Why is 30 days considered, why can't you plant it 2 days before the year, 2 days before Rosh Hashanah? Remember, we learned by a king, if he takes office a day before Nisan, let's say 29th of Adar, the next day, he's year 2 of the king. But here, by fruits, we say, no, you have to plant it 30 days before. So to what the Gemara is thinking right now is the reason why you have to plant 30 days before, because this opinion holds that what's considered a year, to be considered a year, you need 30 days. 1 day is not enough. So that's why the Gemara says now, Lema, would you say that this brisa that says you need 30 days to be considered a year and 1 day is not considered a year, the law Rameir, it does not follow the opinion of Meir. The Ikra Meir, because if you follow the opinion of Meir, and we saw this before, Omar Rameir says Yom Echad Bashana Chashashana, just 1 day of the year is considered a year, right? And the Gemara brings a proof that Rameir held of this opinion. The Tanya we learned in a brisa. Par ha'amur b'Torah sasam. If it says anonymously that you're supposed to bring a cow, the Torah says, let's say, par echad la'oila. So how old is that? How old is that cow? How old should that cow be? So it's 3 years old. Now, what's a cow that's 3 years old? Says Rameir, ben asrim ba'bo chodesh. It has to be 24 months, which is 2 years. The yom echad, and 1 day into the third year, it's already called a par. The Rameir. So you see clearly Rameir holds 1 day of a year is already considered like the year. Rab Lazar says no. He holds you need 30 days to be considered a year. Rabbi Yazar ben Esr V'Abba Chodesh, you need 24 months for 2 years. V'Lamed Yom, and 30 days into the third year, and then it's called a par. Shahir Rameir said, and this is everybody agrees to this idea. How do you know when the Torah says par means 3 years old? So kol makam shenamar, whenever you're going to learn chumash and it says bring an egel for a carbon or an egel, but Torah stam, if it's anonymously just says the word egel, ben shana, means a year-old calf, a year-old cow. If the Torah says egel ben bakar, then the Torah requires for the carbon ben shtayim, a calf, a cow that's 2 years old. But if the Torah says par, right? We just went through Sukkot, they had 70 pars. So then each cow has to be ben sholish, 3 years old. And Rameir says, doesn't mean 3 years old, it means 24 months and 1 day. So our Mishnah, our brisa that said that you need 30 days planting prior to Rosh Hashana in order to count for a year, cannot go like Rameir, because Rameir said 1 day of the year is considered a year. So the Gemara rejects that. He says, Rameir. You could even say our Mishnah goes according to Rameir. When does Rameir say that 1 day of the year is considered a year? If it's the end of accounting. You see, you're trying to get to year 3. So you go 24 months, that's 2, and then 1 day of the third year, which is the last of the years that you're trying to count, then Rab Meir said 1 day of the year is considered as if you went through the year. But if you're starting the counting, let's say by the Orla, by the tree, so there, Rab Meir loy would not hold that 1 day of the year. Since this is going to be the first year of the tree in Orla, he would require you not 1 day, but require you 30 days. So therefore, in the beginning of a year, a beginning of accounting, Rab Meir would agree that 1 day is not enough. You need 30 days. So the Gemara says, is that true? Amar Rava. Rava says, I would make it into a kal b'chaymer. Umanida. Now, just as a way of knowledge over here, in the Chumash, it says that a woman who becomes a nida, it's not like today, but in the Chumash, it says that a woman who sees blood, so all she does is wait 7 days. She doesn't have to have, she could see blood every single day. By the 7th day, she goes to the mikveh at night. And you see, in a Torah, you don't have to count clean days. This is only a chumrah that the women accustomed themselves. B'nai Yisrael were machmir. But really, a woman who sees blood every single day, if the 7th day she stops seeing blood, she goes to the mikveh at night and she's not a nida anymore until she sees blood again. Now, the first day, let's say she sees blood today, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So then at night, even though only 2 hours passed till Shkia, it's already considered already day 1, and all she has to count is 6 more days. So that's the din by a nida. By the 7th day in the morning, she can't go to the mikveh. She has to wait till night. There, by the 7th day, you have to wait a complete day. So that's the interesting thing. You have to wait till nighttime to go to the mikveh. So what do you see from there? That in the beginning already you count partial days. At the end, no, you need a full day. So you have a kal v'chomer. if by Nida we don't count the beginning, but we count the beginning but don't count the end. So by Arla, if you're counting the end, you certainly should count the beginning. That's what we're trying to say. Uman Nida the beginning of a day doesn't work. It doesn't work at the last day. It works only on day one. In the first day she sees blood, that's counted as day one, even though she saw at 4 p.m. Day one starts at nighttime. It works that doesn't work at the end. It doesn't work at the end. That last day, you have to wait a whole day to go to the mikvah. So I'm sorry. The day number 7, the beginning of the day doesn't count. You have to wait till the end of the day to count to day number 7. But the end of the day, at the end of the day of the first day, right? The end of the day does work and count as a full day. So in the beginning, you count partial days. In the end, you need a full day. So Shana, in a year, in a year, you're telling me that, let's say by the par, you say one day and the last day of the counting for the third year, it works. One day is considered a year. We go to Amid Beis. Shouldn't it be so? It shouldn't be that. Shouldn't it be a logical that the first day should work for the first time of counting? So what the Gemara is saying is that if you count, let's say by par, you say the third year, in the third year, one day of the third year is already considered as if you did the whole year, then by Orla, by a tree, we should say that if you just count one day of the first year, you're supposed to count 3 years. It should also work. One day should be considered a year, because you find the opposite by Anida, that at the end you need complete, but the beginning you don't need complete. So you have a Kal V'chomer. If here you see the end, you don't need complete. Certainly in the beginning, you don't need complete years. So the Gemara rejects, and the Gemara always holds that what? Rameir always said that one day of the year is considered like a whole year. So then who is the author of our Mishnah? Who is the author of this brisa that says you need 30 days to be complete, to be considered a year? So the Gemara says, I have somebody. Ve'elamai, Rab Lezer. If it goes according to Rab Lezer. Rab Lezer is the opinion that said 30 days is considered a year. He said that in order for a cow to be 33 years old, you need 24 months and 30 days, right? So it's simple. You can make it Rab Lezer. But the Gemara says it's not so fast. Rab Lezer, by planting, would require you to have 60 days. Shloishim u'shloishim baya. You need 30 days to be considered a year, and 30 days to be a sapling. In order for you to be counted as a tree, the tree has to take somewhat root in the ground. Once it's called a tree, now you need another 30 days to be counted as a year. The Tanah we learned in the Mishnah. You don't plant a sapling. You don't do bending the branch. You don't graft. Less than 30 days before Rosh Hashana. If you did it, then Yakar, you have to uproot it, because you're not supposed to plant to do all this stuff 30 days before Shemitah. Rabbi Yehuda he says that you need 3 days. 3 days is what you need to make a tree. And Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, you need 2 weeks. Now, to explain the Mishnah, the one that said that you need to do it 30 days before Shemitah, less than that already is no good. He really needs Sarach Lamed Ushloishim. You need 30 days plus another 30 days. In other words, you need 60 days. Why? Because 30 days is for the tree to take root in the ground. Now you need another 30 days to make a year out of it. You can't count a year for something that's not a tree yet. And what makes a tree? It took root in the ground. So first let it take root in the ground. Now it's a tree. Count 30 days to be a year. So our Mishnah cannot go according to Rab Lezer, because that brisa said all you need is 30 days. And according to Rab Lezer, the way Rab Nachman explained it, you actually need 60 days. If a person, according to the opinion, Rabbi Yehuda, who said that a sapling takes root in the ground after 3 days, then Sarach Shloishim Shloishim. Then you need to plant and do all this 33 days before Shemitah. The Divrei Yom Beis Shabbosos, you need 2 weeks. Sarach Shtei Shabbosos Shloishim. You need 2 weeks and 30 days. The Iname Rabbi Yehuda's vile, even if you want to say we go according to Rabbi Yehuda, Gimel Ushloishim Boy, you would need 33 days. So what basically the Gemara is saying is, we started off, here it is, we started off with a brisa that says that you're really supposed to plant exactly 30 days prior to Shemitah. Okay, but who would they be that opinion? According to Rabbi Lezer, you would actually need 60 days. According to Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, you need 2 weeks. Even Rabbi Yehuda, you would need 33 days. So who would be the author of our Mishnah, of that brisa that says all you need is 30 days? Ella, says the Gemara, L'olam Rameir. It's really Rameir. Now, Rameir holds all you need is 1 day to be considered a year. Okay, and all these people prior actually hold 30 days make a year. Rabbi Yehuda Meir holds 1 day need a year, but Rameir would agree that you need 30 days to make it into a tree. So basically, you need 30 days. 1 day is counted as a year, and 30 days is so that it takes root in the ground. So you need, first the tree takes root in the ground, and then a day is considered a year. V'chi kama lamed. Why did the Brisa say lamed? 30 days, liklita. The Brisa requires you that it takes root in the ground first for 30 days, and that's why the Brisa said 30 days. So the Gemara says, Ihachi, if the Brisa went according to a mayor, then you would laban alapoya. You would need 31 days. Again, because Rameir will say you need 30 days for the tree to take root, correct? And then 1 more day, because there will be like Toisvis Shvias. That's, the extension of Shvias, where 1 day of the year is considered like the whole year. And therefore, therefore, you would actually need 31 days. So for an Orla, for example, in order for something to be Orla, it would have to have 1 year, 1 day to be considered as if this tree was around during 1 day of a year. And so technically, you wouldn't actually need 31 days. Why does the Brisa say 30 days? Because Sava, this Brisa holds, Yom Lamed, Oila, Lakan, Lakan. The 30 days is counted as 30 days for the tree. The tree takes effect right away in the morning. The tree becomes a tree in the morning. In the rest of the day, it's considered 1 day of the year that the tree was there. And therefore, as soon as Tishrei comes, or the following Tishrei, then the second year reverts. So the 30th day is like a half a day, a quasi day. It counts for the kalita, for the rooting of the tree, and that completes its rooting of the tree because it's in the 30th day in the morning. And in the afternoon, it already is considered as this tree was around 1 day in a year, and then the next day, which is Aleph Tishrei, it'll go to year number 2. So, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Now the Gemara just ends off with, till the end, it just gives you sources of how do I know 1 day a year is considered a year. We just got through Rameir's opinion and Rabbi Elazar's opinion of what is considered a year, 1 day or 30 days. Rabbi Yochanan u'shneim mikra echad darshu. They both, Rameir and Rabbi Elazar, had one pasuk in Parshas Noach that gave hint to this idea. It says in the pasuk, "Vahi ba'achas v'sheish me'er shana." It was the 601st year of Noach's life. Barishain. It was, let's call it Tishrei, right? Be'echad lachodesh, in the first day of the month. So the Malbel began in Cheshvan, let's say, in October or Cheshvan, and it lasted the first day of the year. You already started to see the receding of the waters, and you can see sort of dry land as the earth was drying out. So look what Rameir says. Rameir says, look at the pasuk. It's 1 day into the year. It's the first. It's of Tishrei, the first of the month, Rosh Hashana time, and Huda Ayel. That's what passed Bashana in the year. The Kakara Leishon, it's already called the 601st year. It's the 601st year of Noach's life, and only 1 day of the year passed. Shma mina, from this pasuk you can deduce Yom Echad B'Shana Chashiv Shana. One day of the year is considered a year. The idach. What does Rabbi Lezer do with this pasuk? He says you need 30 days to be considered year. So the Gemara says, if it would have written 601 year, I would agree with you that you have a clear proof that one day of the year is considered a year. But the pasuk doesn't say that. The pasuk says, like you talk in Yiddish, you say the smaller number first, then the larger number. Pa'achas, it was the 1 and the 600th year of Noach's life. So that means Shana, the word Shana is Ashesh Meyes Koi. The word year, it was really the 600th year of Noach's life. And why they say, Torah says Achas, you have to say, but Achas means Aschalta the Achas Kama. It's the beginning of the first year of the 601st year of Noach's life, but it's not considered as if the year passed. So that's why he didn't like that pasuk. So where did Rabbi Lezer get his idea that you need 30 days of a year to be considered a year? Rabbi Lezer will finish off here. My timer, what's his reason? The ksiv, the pasuk says, Barishain be'achad lachodesh. The Torah says in the first of the month, on the first Tishrei, and echad lachodesh. It says in that in pasuk, Charvu hamayim al pnei haaretz, right? The first Tishrei, the first of the month. Now look at it closely. Be'achad lachodesh. One day already, it's a month. And now the Torah said, Barishain, it's Tishrei. Be'achad, the first day of Tishrei. Why does it say Be'achad lachodesh, first day to the month? Mid already said it's the Tishrei. Why does it say the word lachodesh? Mid kati yom echad da'al b'chodesh. Since one day already passed in the month, the kokorile chodesh, and the pasuk already calls it month. Shmamina. From here you can deduce yom echad b'chodesh. If one day of the month passes, chashav chodesh, it's considered as if the whole month passes. So now, mi the yom echad b'chodesh chashav chodesh. Since one day of the month passes, you count that as a month. So because you count in the units of a month, the units are days. So if one day passes, that's as if the whole month is counted as if it's passed. So then when you're counting years, what makes years? Months. So then lamed yom b'shana, 30 days in a year, chashuvim shana is considered a year, because a year is, its units are months. So as 30 days pass, that considers as if the year. So the chodesh l'menuyav, you count a month according to its units, which is a day. One day of a month is considered a month. V'shana l'menuyaha, and a year is according to its counting. So basically, you can walk away from this daf as that you came across a very interesting machlokes between a Meir and Rabbi Lezer, is how much of a year, how much days of a year to pass is as if you count it as if the whole year passed. And Rabbi Meir says 1 day, and Rabbi Lezer says you need 30 days of the year to pass in order for it to count a year, and that relates to the halacha of Orla. Do you need to plant 30 days before the Orla, for 30 days before Tishrei, or according to Rabbi Lezer, you need to plant 60 days. 30 days, of course, is so that the sapling takes root into the ground. I will point out and end with this. Tosfos says over here a very interesting comment over here, and it's kedai to remember this right over here. Tosfos says that all this talk about one day of a year is considered a year, partial days, there are many things that you actually need to mamish le'es le'es. It has to be exactly from when you were born. So he says over here that when it comes to a bar mitzvah boy, he says that you need me'es le'es. Let's just get it over here. The yesh devarim da fil me'es be'es be'inim. That's what he says. He says ben yid gimel shanim. You need exactly to be to the date. So if a boy is born 4 PM, he does not become bar mitzvah according to Tosfos till 4 PM. So imagine, according to Tosfos, if the kid, you made his tefillin, he puts his tefillin on in the morning chakras, he really isn't bar mitzvah till 4 PM.
But we don't hold that, do we?
Oh, right. So, well, there was a chumrah like that, and there's people out there that will do it. That will tell the boy to re-put
Wait one more day.
to wait, not wait more a day, put tefillin on in the afternoon, because at 4 o'clock, when it's still light outside, you're going to be turning bar mitzvah. You put it on 8 o'clock in the morning, and really you weren't yotze because you weren't 13. Because Taisa says over here, there are some things that we need mamish to the exact moment. And therefore he says, Ben Gimel Shana, when you're turning 13, you need to the exact moment. So that's what some people will write when the kid's born. They'll write exactly the hour that the kid's born, so they'll know when the exact bar mitzvah is. In halacha, in Shulchan Aruch, this opinion of Tosfos is rejected. We say that no, we don't need me'es le'es. You don't need to be exactly to the time. If he was born 4 p.m, he becomes bar mitzvah that morning or the night before. But you can see that Tosfos was clear that you need 24 hours, and there's some
because for a bris we don't do that.
No. So maybe for a bris is
an hour before the end of the day when it's still the sun is up.
Yes.
8 days later, you go in the morning and he's still
right.
A bris.
So Tosfos doesn't mention bris. He only talks about, let's say, that means only by bar mitzvah he says it, and also to marriage you need a girl that's 3 years old exactly. Usually we say that the girl has to be 3 years old, but it's not two years and 1 day. You need 3 complete years in order for bia to take effect, something like that. But this is a well-known Tosfos that he needs ace le'ace for a bar mitzvah boy. Anyway,
Bernard, I have a quick question. It's when we first opened the topic of Rosh of what's considered a new year, and we were talking about kings and contracts, and the same Chazal didn't seem kind of lax as far as getting a source that if 1 day passed, it would be the next year of the king. And here they seem to be so particular about getting a source. But when we first talked about kings and contracts, about if 1 day passed, let's say for a new king took over, a year went by.
That's a fabulous question. So that's a fabulous question. I think the answer is because when it comes to contracts, the whole idea is made up by Chazal. To standardize kings, they made it up. So they can decide 1 day a year is a year. But here we're dealing with the Torah determining whether 1 year passed in this arla tree. So there you have to find a source if just all you need is 1 day.
Okay, Rabbanan versus Deoraisa. I got it.
And this is why we're
But the 8 days of a bris is also from the Torah.
Correct. But we're not saying 1 day of a year is considered a year. All we're saying by a bris is miktsas hayom kekuloi. Part of a day is as if the whole day passed or whatever.
Right, but I could also say part of a year is like a year.
We don't
say, but I'm saying, part of a day is like a day, part of a year is like a year.
That's the source that you have to find the source for that. But what the Gemara says is that just all you need is, you always need 30 days so that the sapling takes root. Now it's a tree. How much of that year needs to pass before Rosh Hashana of Tishrei, right? And then we count it as year 1 passed. And that's what we're dealing with, Orla.
Right.
So you have to. But remember, you still can't eat the fruits till Tu B'Av, till Tu B'Shvat. So even if year 3, you passed 1 Tishrei and 2 Tishreis and 3 Tishreis, you still have to wait till Tu B'Shvat to eat from that tree. That we saw. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.